The new challenge short story written by Ravi Ranjan Goswami read by David. Acknowledgement: this is a fictional story inspired by the pandemic caused by the novel coronavirus in 2020. Some information has been taken from Google. Chapter 1 Dec, 2019 Wuhan, China. 34 years old Wen, an ophthalmologist at the Wuhan Central Hospital, arrived there as usual and exchanging greetings with the nurses and ward boys, went to his cabin. Before proceeding on a round of the ward, head nurse placed a file before him. He felt uneasy by seeing the charts of the 7 patients admitted to the hospital that day. To confirm his suspicion, he examined the patients. He could not resist and sent a message via WeChat to a few of his doctor friends telling about his suspicion that a viral infection was spreading through the district. He also found all 7 patients had eaten animal meat from the same seafood market in Hubei. Inadvertently his message got leaked and became viral on the social sites. Chinese authorities were not pleased with this action of Dr. Wen. For certain unknown reasons China suppressed this news, but soon they had to accept that there was a coronavirus outbreak in China. China informed the WHO about the novel coronavirus outbreak. Then the WHO started monitoring its spread in other parts of the world. It spread quickly, covering more than 100 countries within a few weeks. WHO declared it the global health emergency. Chapter 2 Virus in Indian mythology. Soon the coronavirus came to India, carried by the travelers coming from the affected parts of the globe. The first it made its presence felt in Kerala. Shankar, a young social activist of Kerala, was interested in reading the scriptures and mythological books. By reading these he often got surprised by the wisdom and knowledge of the people of ancient India. For his academic interest, he searched on the net if there was anything available on viruses in ancient literature. He was amazed to find description of microorganisms like bacteria, virus, fungi, etc. In the Hindu mythology, epic poem, the Mahabharata, which was written more than 5,000 years ago. Scientists have found the existence of bacteria in the 17th century AD, but they were known to the Indians during the Mahabharata period. Arjuna talks about survival of the fittest, which was later advocated by Charles Robert Darwin. Santi Parva, section 15. Arjuna says, I do not behold the creature in this world that supports life without doing any act of injury to others. Animals live upon animals, the stronger upon the weaker. The mongoose devours mice, the cat devours the mongoose, the dog devours the cat, the dog is again devoured by the leopard. Behold, all things again are devoured by the destroyer when he comes. This mobile and the immobile universe is food for living creatures. This has been ordained by the gods. The very ascetics cannot support their lives without killing creatures. There is a Sanskrit shloka of that period, which means that many creatures are so minute that their existence can only be inferred. With the falling of the eyelids alone, they are destroyed. Shankar was of the view that during some geopolitical turmoil or some big natural disaster India lost the links between the ancient and the modern. It sounded like vainglory now to mention the accomplishments of India in the past. The coronavirus was spreading rapidly. Shankar noticed that there was a need for face masks. He procured and distributed face masks in his locality. Then he watched for the next requirement. This was a new virus, so information was coming in bits. It took a few days to get the whole picture. Government issued instructions regarding do's and don'ts to avoid the infections. Shankar's NGO offered its services to the administration and helped them in managing the crises as and when they needed. Chapter 3 Lockdown. On March 19, 2020, the Prime Minister implored all citizens of India to observe a self-imposed curfew from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday, March 22, 2020 to help reduce community spreading of the coronavirus in India. On March 24, the Prime Minister announced that India goes under total lockdown for the next 21 days. Dr. Shrikant was serving at the Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi. He lived a few km away from the hospital in a government accommodation with his wife Lata and a 5-year-old daughter Shrilta. Lata's younger brother Paras had come from Lucknow to visit them and he was held up by this lockdown. Paras got in a fix, but Lata was happy. She said to him, Paras, it is good that you will be with me because I know he will be busy at the hospital, Shrilta will be full-time at home. You will be a big support for us. Paras accepted his fate and stopped thinking about going back. Chapter 4. 1 week before lockdown, Lila had gone to Egypt on holiday. One of his uncles lived in Cairo. Since her childhood, she wanted to see pyramids of Egypt, so when her uncle Sonny invited her to Egypt, she grabbed the opportunity and reached there. In a few days, she visited thrice the Great Pyramid of Giza, which were not very far from Cairo. One day before returning, she caught a cold in Cairo and had a cough before boarding the flight to New Delhi. The health declaration had 3 questions. Are you suffering from any of the following? Fever, yes/no, cough, yes/no, respiratory problems, yes/no, she ticked yes next to cough on the forms. Her connecting flight from Bahrain in the Middle East landed in Delhi at 2:20 am. She was aware of the spreading novel coronavirus infection, and because of this, the authorities were screening the passengers. She proceeded for the thermal screening. As she handed her declaration forms, the person at the counter asked her if she had a fever, body ache, shortness of breath. She answered in negative to all. During this conversation, she coughed twice. The person at the counter told her that she would have to be taken to an isolation ward. She was handed a hazmat suit and a mask. Her passport was taken to immigration, and then she was escorted to a room at the airport where a doctor informed her that she was going to be kept in an isolation ward at Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi and that an ambulance would soon take her there. At 4 am she reached the isolation ward, which was on a higher floor, and told that the doctor was attending to a patient on another floor and would see her as soon as he finished there. It was at 6 am. At 6:30 am, the doctor came and asked about her symptoms and her travel history to any of the COVID-19 affected countries. She said she hadn't been to any such country. Then he said that Lila's samples would be taken for testing. The results would arrive in 2 or 3 days, and till then, she'd have to stay in the isolation ward. She was in the isolation ward for 2 days. On the 3rd day she got the test results, which had turned out negative for novel coronavirus, and she was discharged. After clearing this corona test, she contacted Rajesh, who was at SWI. She booked an Uber cab and went to the SWI, Software Intelligence, office. Chapter 5. 6 months before, a team of top virologists led by Mrs. Chen had come to see the Minister of National Defense. The minister had gone to meet the president. The group of scientists had arrived early. The minister came after half an hour and the meeting was held. Defense Minister asked Chen, "What is the progress of the project Karam?" He used the code word Chen, "We are prepared, but will it not be unethical and a violation of the international treaty?" The minister chided her, "Please leave the politics for our party. No sin on you. You are working under the orders." Chen said, "Lord Buddha said that we are responsible for our karma even if we are doing it for others, and the fruit of them also may be shared by others." The minister said, "Story of Angulimala and Lord Buddha. I read, when I was a child. Okay, I will remove the burden of your soul. Any country can make a virus, which can kill a virus." Chen, really? The minister, the 1972 Biological Weapons Convention, requires the parties to give an undertaking that they will never in any circumstances develop, produce, stockpile or otherwise acquire or retain biological weapons. But the convention allows nations to conduct defensive research so that they will be prepared to face or survive an attack or a virus outbreak. In other words, they are allowed to make a virus to kill a virus. Chen, thank you, sir, for removing my doubt. Please see that we get sufficient funds for our research work. The minister, sure. Chen and her team came out of the minister's cabin. Chapter 6. Meeting at SWI. When Lila arrived at SWI, Rajesh was with the chief Daljit Singh. Daljit Singh had called for a meeting of the key operators of SWI. Daljit, I have called all of you for the review and suggestions regarding our responsibility during the outbreak of coronavirus and consequent lockdown. Shrivastava, the UN Secretary-General has said terrorists may see an opportunity in this crisis as most governments across the world are busy dealing with the pandemic. I fully agree with him. We should keep our eyes and ears open. Daljit asked Rajesh, what is your input? Rajesh, because of lockdown internal movements are nil. Enemies may try to create a problem at the borders or through the borders. One more intelligence officer Ravish was also present. Daljit asked Ravish, Ravish, do you want to say anything? Ravish, sir, in international political circles people are expressing suspicion that this virus outbreak can be part of biological war. Daljit, you are right. The USA and China have started blaming each other. Rajesh to Daljit, excuse me, sir. Daljit looked at him and spoke, go on. Rajesh, my input is that there may be an attempt to violate the lockdown. Oh, I see, Daljit uttered. Daljit asked Srivastav, I think we can send these inputs to the Mod, Maya, and Srivastav said, it will be fine, sir. Daljit, now we will remain at home and follow the lockdown. We can work from home if needed. We can disperse now. Everybody went home. Lila went with Rajesh to his residence. Chapter 7 March, Islamabad. The Maulana was excited. He did not want to take a risk, but wanted to meet his team. He phoned Colonel Shakir, hello Colonel. Colonel Shakir replied, Maulana Sahib. How are you? Because of the pandemic, we cannot get out of our houses. I want to meet our team. Why don't you arrange a video conference? The Colonel Shakir said, Janab, I will tell everybody to join the video conference tomorrow at 8 a.m. You can use your mobile phone or computer for this purpose. Maulana imagined expressions of surprise and adulation on everybody's face when he would tell his new idea. That night he saw a dream that the people had made him the Prime Minister in place of the elected PM. The next morning at 8 Maulana received a video call from Shakir, then several windows opened showing the faces of ISI Chief, DD, Don, and the Finance Secretary. They exchanged greetings. Then the ISI Chief asked Maulana, proceed Maulana Sahib, I am dying to know the cause of this meeting. All were silent and looking at Maulana. The Maulana said, I had a new and fantastic idea of harassing India. Don smiled and said, I guessed. Maulana can never forget India. The Maulana said, never. It is mutual. They miss us, we miss them. Colonel intervened, what is the new idea? We can save the lives of our boys while working against the enemy, Maulana replied. DD asked, how will you achieve this? The Maulana said mysteriously, we can stop sending the suicide bombers. Instead, we can send the infected people across the LOC. As Maulana expected, the team was surprised and Shakir was the first person to praise Maulana. Shakir clapped and uttered, Lajawab. The rest of the people followed the colonel in admiring Maulana. The Maulana said to ISI Chief, Janab, you talk to the government and get the approval and necessary fund. Maulana, Colonel, you discuss the matter with the forces. I think we should hurry up and not lose the opportunity. Shakir nodded in agreement. The Maulana said to all, goodbye. Let us keep in touch. The meeting was finished. Chapter 8 Albert's refusal. Neither of Maulana and Albert had many ideas about the ways the intelligence could work. They changed the passwords and communicated through the same email accounts, which had been compromised earlier. Maulana avoided talking over the phone as he had to speak aloud and he feared that someone might eavesdrop. Albert received an email of Maulana in which he wrote about his new plan and requested for some contribution. Albert replied, disappointed Maulana. Albert wrote, Dear Maulana Sahib, thanks for remembering me. Sorry I cannot support you in this project. This is a horrible pandemic and you must know how much America is suffering from this. People are dying daily and it is very difficult to stop. No American will contribute to this as many people here suspect your friend Beijing behind this. After reading Albert's email, Maulana uttered with disdain, Lahal bila kyo bat. The sentimental fool. Could we achieve our objective without sacrifice? If Beijing was behind this, they should have alerted us much in advance. God only knows what this government is doing. In the meantime, the wife of Maulana came there and she laughed seeing Maulana talking to self. She asked, "Will you like to have food here or inside?" The Maulana said, "Come, we will have food together." Both went inside. Chapter 9 Lila and Rajesh. Rajesh lived in a 2-bedroom flat in a place named Dvarka. Rajesh gave 1 bedroom to Lila. Lila was thrilled to live under the same roof as Rajesh. In the morning Rajesh made the tea and woke up Lila. Seeing the tea, Lila smiled at Rajesh and said to him, "You are perfect husband material. I am not going to leave you. Rajesh, today I will treat you as my guest." Lila, showing fake excitement, asked, "What about tomorrow?" Rajesh said smilingly, "We can share the household work." Lila said, "Okay." She left the bed. Within half an hour she finished her morning routine, took a bath and got ready. Rajesh served her 1 more tea at the dining table. He also sat there with a cup tea. In between the sips of tea, Lila said to Rajesh, "Rajesh, I feel you have changed now." Rajesh, "What do you mean?" Lila, "No flirting, no holding hands." Rajesh laughed and said, "Don't you know?" Lila, "What?" Rajesh, "Social distancing to block corona's spread." Lila laughed and uttered, "Oh, I see. Then I forgive you." Rajesh also got fresh, took a bath and got ready. As Rajesh had told, he treated Lila as a guest that day. Night after dinner both sat down with their laptops. Rajesh said to Lila, "We have almost forgotten Albert. Check him." Lila shuffled her fingers on the keyboard looking at her laptop screen. After a few minutes, she looked at Rajesh with surprise. Rajesh asked, "Any lead?" She gave her laptop to Rajesh to see. Rajesh saw the emails of Albert and Maulana. He was excited and happy. Rajesh said to Lila, "You are wonderful." "Thank you." Lila smiled and said, "Mention not Agent Rajesh. I have learned many things from you." Before going to bed, he sent a message to SWI Chief Daljit Singh. Chapter 10 Dr. Shrikant. Dr. Shrikant became very busy. He started coming late. When he returned from the hospital, he would go straight to the bathroom. After taking a bath, he would eat food separately and would sleep on a couch separate from everybody. It was difficult to understand for the 5-year-old daughter why was her father behaving that way, but soon she understood. As the number of infected people increased, Dr. Shrikant became busier and he found it more convenient to stay at the hospital premises and avoid going to his house. He would be more available for the patients and there would be less risk of infection from him to his family. He stopped going home. He would visit once in a week and meet the family from a sufficient distance. Para's presence was of great help for Lata. He gave mental support to Lata and her daughter. He was an optimist and keep their morale high. Chapter 11 The Maulana at Launchpad. Maulana's movement was facilitated by the army. Maulana went to the launch pads of terrorists near the Indo-Pak borders. He was wearing the face mask and hand gloves. The army had kept 50 terrorists at 2 launch pads. Maulana asked to assemble them in one place. A junior officer mentioned the social distance. He did not know the Maulana's plan. A major, escorting Maulana, asked him to follow Maulana's instructions. The other launch pad was not far away. Within half an hour all terrorists were gathered in one place. Maulana addressed them from a distance. He said, "Allahu Akbar." Then he started his speech, "Brothers and comrades, are you ready to sacrifice?" All said, "Yes." Maulana, "I know my boys are ever ready to lay their lives for the religion and country, but I have a different plan this time. If we can achieve our object without losing our lives, why should we die? I want you to be alive after hitting the target." There was pin drop silence. All were listening to Maulana's speech attentively. He spoke further, "You will be infected with the corona and pushed across LOC as usually done. You are all young and healthy, so you will survive this infection, but you can make the enemies suffer by infecting many people in a short visit. No need of carrying bombs. So go to India to enjoy and come back. This time, let us call this mission Love India. All laughed. The Maulana said, Insha'Allah, our new mission will make them cry. All said, Amin. After the speech, sweets packets, which were sent in advance by Maulana, were distributed among the boys. Then Maulana whispered to the major, I have done my part, now you have to execute the plan. Maulana boarded the army's car and the car was driven back. Chapter 12 India foils Maulana's plan. Besides LOC, Maulana wanted the same type of infiltration by some other route. He contacted the sleeper cells of India's neighbouring countries. One of his contacts, Mukhtar, told him that he could push some people through the Nepal border. Maulana's communication was intercepted by the Indian army and the forces all around were alerted. Having the advance proper intelligence inputs, the central government took it very seriously. India was fighting a big battle against the coronavirus. The enemy was trying to weaken India's fight. India quickly moved the forces in large numbers to the borders and completely sealed its borders. They could not send the boys across the LOC and had to be hospitalized for coronavirus, which was given to them by Maulana in the form of sweets. India's fight against coronavirus continued to win.